Yeah, we're live now.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Hope we are all fine. Are you sure we are currently live, or there's a delay to get live, right?
Sorry, we're live already.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Good, depending on where you are joining us from. Today, we're going to be talking about something special. If you notice, my co-host is not available today. I sent him on an errand, so he's not going to be joining us today. Hopefully next week we'll have him around. That's Chris. So, but he's fine. For those of you wondering. So we're going to be talking today about designers working with developers. And if we have time, we are going to review a design or two. So, but if we are ready for the class, I don't know, I'm not yet seeing it on YouTube. I'm on YouTube and I can't see it. It's still writing waiting on YouTube. Trust. Trust, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I want to confirm.
Are you on YouTube? It's not live.
Yeah, it's live on YouTube on my end.
Okay, so you can see
Yeah,
me, right?
see. Yes.
That means how many people are on the YouTube link that you? Because I'm seeing 77 waiting on mine. Can you send me the YouTube link you're watching from?
Okay, let me send the link.
Because probably the YouTube I'm using is the link on the calendar invites, and it may be different from what others are seeing. So we may have two sections of people, and those here are complaining that it has not started. So we have to confirm that two of them are. Everyone is using the same link. Oh, okay. Or you're using the one that you shared in announcements, right?
No, I'm just copying directly from YouTube now. I got the YouTube notification.
Yeah. So I'm using the one on that you shared on announcement, and it's still the same thing. It's not yet live. Can another person confirm that?
Yeah, I'm trying to confirm it out right now. But I've sent the new link to you.
Okay, this is another link. Yeah, this link is live, but the other one isn't. So you have to use this link, share it on, because we have 63 people waiting on this link and it's not going to come live. So share this link on announcements and maybe delete the other one. Good.
Yes.
So tell them that they should join this one. Okay. Sorry everyone, those who have been on the right link, very sorry. Others, we had two parties, those who didn't join from Slack and those who joined from the calendar invites. So welcome. My glasses. Where's my glasses? My glasses is somewhere far. So let's manage my sites this way. So we're going to be talking about designers working with developers, and you may ask yourself, why are we discussing about this? It is important. Who cares? But we care, and designers care. And to reiterate, I do host this with Chris. but Chris is not available. As I mentioned earlier, sent him on an errand to go and get some stuff done. So hopefully next week he'll be joining us and we'll make it more fun. I know you told me it's going to be boring, but please manage me. So we are about entering the project phase and it promises to be very exciting. We've been working a lot. So before now, we've been working in silos, you've been working alone as a designer, trying to get your best work done. Even sometimes you compete with others. So it doesn't stop. Competing with others doesn't stop. But now you are entering into a phase that you collaborate more. So collaboration means working with other people, and it may be designers and also working with developers. I don't know how many of us have worked with developers before. How many of us have worked on a live project, a project that went through the phases of development. But what we are going to be discussing today will help us to work well with developers. And I've listed out some points and we'll take them one after the other. Hopefully we'll still have time to do other things at the end. So let's kick this started. First of all, what you want to understand when working with developers is how they think. I know you may feel it's easier for you to, now that everyone is in training, to take them as less developers as than what they really are. They're developers, so you have to accord them with the same amount of respect you accord to a developer that has a wealth of experience. But in that instance, what you should try to do is to understand how they think. What do I mean by how the developers think? So they don't think like designers, right? Most times we think about, especially UI designers, think about what's the prettiest thing I can design. That's why you see some people, like some of the designs we reviewed yesterday, most developers cannot code that. And that's a problem. And that problem, we can solve it by discussing with them, getting into a dialogue with them, trying to understand the product that they use. So you understand whether they use Bootstrap, whether they use pure CSS, understanding how the code works, not learning how to code. So you need to understand how the code works for you to be able to design what they will code. So as we go further, we'll understand a little bit of that. So when you understand how a developer thinks, so different developers think different ways. And some think in a way that, let's do this way. Let's do this way. You may see what the person have done before and you understand their strength and their capabilities. And you can make it work better for you. So that's the first point, understanding how developers think. The second point is to invite them to share early on in the process. So what do I mean, invite them to share early on in the process? It means that for you to, sorry, give me a second. Okay, sorry for that. So it means that when you are starting your design thinking process, just like you've learned, when you're about to do some research, also research on them, research with them, ask them what they feel. When you are acquiring users, make your developers to be part of the process. And this helps them to feel that they own the process. It helps them understand the way the process, the product is going. So they can also bring their inputs, their knowledge in development. They can also say, oh, that this is what I think. This is what I think will work. This is what will not work. It's very important for you to bring them together at that initial process. And when they are part of the ideation process, and when the idea is formed, it helps them to stay in track. It helps them keep them invested. They're not seeing the process as just, or the product as just code. They are seeing it as part of a user journey. So they are invested in it emotionally. Another thing is communication. So you need to keep them informed. So that is the third point that we're talking about now. You need to keep your developers informed. Is there any changes that you want to make based on what you've discussed or what you found out? You need to let them know. Is there anything you want to know? Is there any new person that is bringing more things? Is there any new features? Let them know. When you let them know, it helps manage the expectation. Is there any changes, any iteration that you just did? Share with them, show it to them, and try to get their viewpoints. So I think this happens to everyone. Every human wants to be, when they are interested, when they are called into decision making, they are more emotionally invested in that decision that they made. So imagine you making a decision, and tomorrow you are seeing that decision that you made has been overturned, and there's nothing that you suggested that was used. You feel a little bit sad, and the fact that you are not told why those things were being changed will also make you a little bit pissed. Same with developers. So if you've involved them earlier on in the process, you need to keep them informed. You must not choose what they suggested. You may choose it and after find out that you want to change it. That's not a problem. But the problem is carrying your developers along. So you have to carry them along and make them understand what is going on. Also, another thing that I would like to talk about is ask them what they think about certain things and decisions. So when you want to make a decision, just don't just go, oh, the designers made this decision and this is how it should be. Ask them what they think. Ask them the way they look at things. Do they think this will work? Always ask them whether they think this will work. It doesn't mean that you have to change. Yeah, some developers want you to make it overly simple for them to code, not for the user. So be wary of that. You must not remember what you are saying is not don't be a designer, don't be a creative. No, we are saying while being a designer, while being a creative, you need to carry them along. So ask them what they think about certain things, certain decisions that you're about to make, or something that you heard. You already know what you want to do in your mind. Ask them. And when they tell you what they think, ask them questions like, what if you do this way? Do you think it will work? If you have data, this is where you bring it in. So data-driven design is the best kind of design because you are designing what people really want. You are designing how people really reacted to maybe your tests and your feedback sessions. So when you are making that known to the developers, you are telling them that 50-something% of people believe that this button or this button meant this. So I'm thinking to change this to this and or remove this button because it's confusing to the user. What do you think about it? Now, you've already made the developer to understand that you are not just making this decision because you want to make this decision. You are making the decision because you feel that this is what the users really need. Now, that's the fourth point. The fifth point is to test with them as you are testing with the users. What does it mean? You've designed maybe the first iteration of the product and you want to test with the users, obviously we do usability testing. Test with the developers. I don't mean when they have developed it. I mean the first design. That's where you will see things that you designed that are in quotes uncodable. So you design things that they will say, you hear people on Twitter or social media say that they want to kill the developer, they want to frustrate the developer. This is actually what they mean when you design something like that. So you show to them, ask them what they think. Are you going to provide GIF? Are you going to do some certain things for them? Are there videos that need to be added to the website? Where would the videos come from? We discuss with them and decisions where you test with them, ask them to test the product and see. They may not have the best feedback for you, but their feedback is very important. Before you as you are going to the user, you're going to your developers. Now, the sixth point is to invite them to your user testing sessions. Yes, you are testing with them, but you also want them to sit in when you are interviewing people, when you are testing with people, so they can see. This is very important. Maybe when there is a first part of the app out, or even when it's not yet out, but they are seeing the reactions of people. So maybe there was a suggestion before, maybe to add a floating icon button, and the user is testing it and can't even understand that that's a button, or the button is designed in a way that is not very obvious. Now, that's what you need to, that's why you need to put them along so they can see the frustrations of the users and have it in the back of their mind that this is going to change. Now, another point is to practice good developer handoff. I don't know how many of us have heard of good developer handoff. Now, developer handoff is where you are done, quote unquote. You can never be done with a design, but when you are done with maybe designing a particular feature for a particular period of time, so you want the developer to start developing, you need to know how to do a good developer handoff. That means you need to So that means you need to understand how to share files. For example, I was mentioning about icons, assets, images. So this is that you have in your design. Is it easy for the developer to work with? Can they export it easily? Do you have a specific what's it called, quality that you want them to export that will make the work to be very okay? So let me give an example on this. Let me give a practical example. So if you are working on Figma, you notice that there is what you, when you want to export, you will see 2x, 1x, 3x, and 4x. And also you see on the other side, you see SVG, PNG, JPG, PDF. Now, these are very important things, and these are things that you need to take into consideration. What are the format that you need specific things in the page to be exported with? So it's problematic when you have an icon and your design developer is exporting them as SVG, PNG. That means it can easily get pixelated. Or you have a background and your developer with a text, and developer is exporting them not as text, but is exporting the whole thing as an image. So you may have issues with responsiveness. You may have issues with understanding. You may have issues with understanding how the whole system works. So what is very, very important here is to Figma has made this very, very easy. Not very easy, but Figma has made it easy. So there's an inspect panel on Figma that helps you to send out, to export, to look at the CSS code, and sometimes the Android or other Swift codes that you can use that developers can use. But you need to have a sit down with them. You need to prepare possibly a document with them, and that document will help them to know that, oh, all images are to be exported at 2x. So you want the quality to be good if you want 2x, and you don't want 4x probably because you don't want the site to be heavy. And when I mean site being heavy, it means that the site loads slowly. So if you don't want the site to load slowly, you have to set your expectations of the images. Also, do you want them to export the images and compress it a little bit and make it very still clear, but very light? This is discussions that you may have during developer handoff. So developer handoff is a whole lot, and you need to do it properly for your developers to be happy and for you to be happy, because if you're not happy, if your developers are not happy, they will give you a goosey as your design. So what they will develop will be, you will not even like it. So this is very, very important. So there's a lot you can read up on developer handoff. There are different methods. Many people use Zeppelin, but Figma has made it easier. So what you may also want to do is to have a specific, you may want to have a specific file where they do developer handoff. So you have a file that you work on, and when you want to move it to the developers and you are sure that there's no changes you are going to make here, you move it to the developer handoff file. Now, if you want to make a change, you don't make it on the developer handoff file, you make it on your own file. You can name it anything. After making that change, agreeing with the developers, with the product managers, or anybody in your team, you can go from there to the developer handoff. You delete the old one and replace it with the new one. So you don't work on the developer's file, but you work on your personal file. After working on your personal file, it may not be only you may be working with a team. Everybody works on one file. And after that, you move it to developer files. So this is very important for you to note. Now, another thing you will talk about is for you to be ready to make compromise. So I know this session seems a bit, I've been talking a lot. We'll have time to answer questions, but I want to get out everything that I want us to know about working with developers. It's not exhaustive. There's a lot of things we need to learn, a lot of things we need to know. Experience also helps us with other things. Maybe at the end, I may tell a story of my personal story about working with developers, maybe one of them. So be ready to make a compromise. Now, what does this mean? It means that you can't always get your way. Yes, you're a designer, you want this to look like this, but sometimes the capabilities of your developers can hinder your work. So what you do in this instance is most likely doing what your developer wants and doing it in a way that your users will benefit from it. So sometimes you may do a design, very pretty design, with graphs littered around, maybe a dashboard design, graphs everywhere. And your developer tells you that this graph, probably you got the graph from Dribble. and your developer is telling you that this graph you cannot implement it. In fact, he will not tell you that he cannot implement it. Most of them will not tell you that they cannot implement it. They will tell you that it's not possible to do it. So what are you to do in this instance? You are going to understand. If you can make research, read some documentations on how it's being implemented. If you see that your developer cannot, you can choose to go for an easier graph to send the same message, and it's simpler too. So this is how you make a compromise. You don't say, I will never change the design. You must have to do it this way, because that's where the fight will start. If your developer does not do what you want, and you do not want to agree with what your developer is saying, you will notice that the project will not go ahead. The project will get frustrated and nobody will win. So it's better to make compromises, not all the time. Sometimes you say, this is a simple button, you can do it. And you who can negotiate on that. So it's more about negotiation and every other thing. So the final point I want to talk about on this matter of designers working with developers is always understand why you are making a decision. Always understand why you are making a decision. So when you want to make a decision, you need to understand why. So you shouldn't do this. They ask you, okay, why are you doing this? You say, I like it, that's why I'm doing it. If I am on your team, I will tell you no, I will have to change it. Except you gave me a reason why you did that. So anything in your design should have a reason, so you can defend it. And if possible, should be data-backed, data-driven. Even the fact that you have a background that's white, another person may choose to use a blue background. But the question is why? So you should be asking yourself, why does most sites use white or black or dark or in dark mode? Why? So when you're asking this why, you're trying to find out the reasons behind every decision. And that's what your developers will likely ask you. Why do you prefer this over this? Or why your stakeholders, if you are working with stakeholders, or even those people are grading your scores. And when you go outside there in the outside world, when you're working for a company, a business, the question is always, why do you make this change? It goes as little as changing the font type, changing the button size. Why do you go for this button over this? There should be data backing up your decisions. And you should, yes, as a designer, you can do something spontaneous. In fact, creative things are mostly spontaneous, but they also have reasons. And that's why every painting, you go to the gallery, you look at the painting, every painting has a meaning. Yes, they are abstract paintings, but even abstract paintings have meanings attached to them. So our design should have meaning. We are not in the world of chaos. We don't just do things for doing sake. That's why user experience design is different from graphic design. Graphic design, you may choose to put an ego somewhere just because it makes it aesthetically pleasing. But you can't do that. You can do that in user experience design, but that means you're sacrificing probably usability for just experience. So if the person is happy opening it, the person can also get frustrated midway the application because of that particular thing, and it may cause engineering difficulty. So there are other things that you can consider, like engineering depth, engineering strength, quality of your, when I mean engineers, I mean developers, quality of your developers and the rest when making certain decisions. So this is very important. And this is what I want to talk about, because we are getting into the project phase and there will be a lot of work that we'll be doing with teams. In teams, most of us have been working on our own, but we're going to start working in teams. So I don't know if I made sense, if I I hit the nail on the head. But I would like us to ask questions. On YouTube, you can ask questions. I'll be looking out for them. And with the remaining time, I don't think we can talk about design today. Or when I mean talk about design, I mean look at designs to review today. But with this remaining time, I'll use it to take questions if we have any about working with designers, working with developers. So I know most of them will sound gibberish, but it's very important for us to know that once you start working with developers, these things I'm saying will make sense. And I said I promised a story about me working with developers. So even in your interview, many people will ask you this question: how do you work with developers? Because they know that designers always have issues with developers. There's always a fight. Either one thing happened or the other thing happened. So let me tell a story. I like telling this in my interviews when I'm looking for, maybe I'm looking to change a job or something. So there is this project I was working on, and okay, let me just tell a more recent story, not those ones. So there's a project I'm working on, and the developers, actually, I joined the project midway or even at the tail end of the project. But the developers they had a mobile view and they had a web view. And what was on their mind was that the designers should give them a tablet view. Now, I've been a developer before, being a designer before transitioning to designer. So design. So I understand some certain terms, I understand some the way things work and how they work. So I understand some frameworks. So this became an issue that they started looking for a tablet view, and it's weeks after weeks we are discussing about why do you need a tablet view. You can easily make the website responsive even from one view, probably the desktop or even the mobile. You can scale it up or you scale it down, but you don't need this much breakpoints. And they went on and on claiming their rights. So from their eyes, they were seeing it correctly because they are developers. They don't, sometimes they are limited. Everyone is limited by their experience, both developers and designers. So they are seeing it, the person is seeing it from their own experience. And once one person is biased to one certain way of working, others in the group will be as the other developers. So it made it that we had to have a compromise. So we finally had a compromise that, okay, see what will happen. We'll give you 3 screens of the most complex screens that you feel you cannot make responsive, especially those that have tables. We'll give you the tablet views, and you can make do with others. So we went from saying we can't give you anything to that we'll give you 3. And they went from saying that they can't give us any development on tablets to agreeing that they will take 3 and find a way to do others. So that's how you work with it. This is just one example. There's a lot of examples of working with developers. So as you start working, this will be your first test, and you understand what it means to battle with developers. So let me go to YouTube and see the questions. Are there books that can help us better when it comes to working with developers? I don't know. You can check online, you can check for books, but books, really? I don't really think books are a problem. I think if you like, read all the whole books in the world, and you can't, you don't understand, you don't practicalize it, you are going nowhere. So practice is the most important thing. So once you start working with them, nobody will tell you anything about book. You understand it by yourself. So when working on a project, do designers and developers work side by side, or do designers first design and then hand it off to developers before they can code? Evelyn, I think I mentioned this at the beginning. I think I mentioned it throughout my, talk, throughout my discussion. So I said, take them on from the first user that you are getting, from the first ideation. Help them, let them join in the ideation process. It's not design thinking. In fact, design thinking is not meant for only designers. It's meant for the whole team. Both if you're working in a company, the CEO, the managers, the product managers, the designers, the CS people, the customer success people, everybody should be in a design thinking process. So developers should be in the design thinking process. They should not wait for you to. You hear things like, we are waiting for design to get this done for us to start coding. No, drag them in. They will not like it, but you have to drag them in. It makes your work easier at the end. I hope I answered that question. I'm looking for another question. Okay. Without designers, what will developers develop? That's a good question. Let me flip it back. Without developers, how will designers develop their work? I think that's enough. That's a good answer for that question. Do we necessarily have to give developers documentation during handoff? Depends. So if you're working with a very experienced developer, it makes documentation lower, but you have to do documentation. You have to explain what you want, how you want it, except you just want anything, anyhow that you want, because anyhow that you see it, you take it. So imagine having a work you've put in night and day, and you're now seeing images of people that are like this. You just get heartbreak. So you have to give them documentation, clear documentation of what you want. It may not be as big as, maybe you'll be hearing documentation is a big word. No, documentation is just like, all images should be this. This is how to get these images. If there are specific pages that you want them to have, to do certain things, maybe how interactions need to go. You want this page to come before this page. You want this to have this opening. You can note them down. And you can do a prototype of them, add the links to them. So it's very important. So whenever they have something, they will go back and they will not come and say, this person did not tell me about this. So it's very important. Are we going to be working with the full stack team on Slack? I don't know. When you will be shared in Teams, you understand, if it's not been shared already. But you are going to be working with everyone. Developers can work with wireframes. I understand. Why do you want to give your developer wireframes? Okay, so backend developers when backend developers join your project early on, you can start creating APIs. They can start understanding how the project will work. They can start drawing up schemas and how and arrange them properly, waiting for the front end to start consuming those APIs. Developers can work with FNO. Are we okay? Are we working with developers in this coming project? I think I have mentioned this. Yes, we are. You're not just doing design. In fact, your work is evaluated on how good your development is. So you won't say, I made a fine design and the development is not fine. If everybody is failing, if one person is failing, everybody is failing. So the designer can do fine work and the developer will mess it up. That's where the fight comes. So you have to make sure that your work is as you designed it. So you should have regular check-in, understand what is going on, and not just give the developer, I've given you design. Then you go and sleep. And next week you come back and see that is obono soup that has been done for you. As for designers, how can many designers work on a single file, or do they do different designs? Oh, I had this question on Hachi when I was starting too. I was feeling like, let us do different projects and different designs and compare. The best one will choose it. That's not how you work. So you work in a way that you work in a real environment. You don't have people on Google. Let's say they want to design Google Meets, or they want to design different things, and the next thing you hear is, oh yeah, okay, let me use the names now on the chat here. Oh yeah, Joseph, Onyedika, Remat, Ojo, do different designs. You get us 4 different designs, and we now pick. Everyone will work on that one design. So this person may be working on the home page, this person may be working on the login screen, this person may be working on the dashboard, this person may be working on the, I don't know, maybe consultation page. Everyone works on different things, but everyone works on the same thing, the same project. So when you're working on different things, it means that you are working on a variety of screens, but it's the same project. That means you are using your style guide, the same colors, same buttons, the same fonts. So you won't see somebody using 20 for headings, another person using 30 for headings. No, everyone uses the same thing. So that makes the work look identical, like it's what is done by one person. But you need to learn this by working with people. And you'll see this fight start now, even among designers. One person will do different thing, another person will do the same project, but a different thing. That person may say that maybe look at the tech design, and he or she is doing it at home, and their mother will be like, we don't like red. Use yellow. And you now use the kind of yellow that we reviewed last week to do your work. Sorry for the person that has the work. It's not a job last week. So I think another question is, can you be both a designer and a developer? Yes, you can. But first of all, be one first now. So you must be one before you change to the other one. You cannot be doing both at the same time. You can actually. I'm not discouraging you. So go for it. You didn't change the other design as a new skill. I don't understand. Okay, somebody was asking why did I change from why did I change from coding to design? Because I felt like changing. Design coding was hard. My brain was very soft. It's not true. I just changed. I felt relatable to design, so I changed. I was running around GitHub without understanding the thing. Like I say, yeah. So I changed. Design was more interesting to me. Some people will say the opposite. So yeah. But I say answer sophisticated dev. So please reserve developer seats for me. Designers are specs, make design developers. Okay. Is there any other question? Is it better to export images or send your Figma link to developers? Wow. You want a developer to use image to, okay. You send your Figma link, please, on Yedekachi. Not images. They don't code images. Once you export that image, you've damaged everything. Nobody can code an image. Some devs buy templates and code from WordPress. Do they really need us every step of the way? Templates are different, right? WordPress is different. You can code from templates, good and fine. But I would like you to check government websites. Most of them are coded with WordPress, and see how beautiful they are. I think you guys did a project on Railway. Go and look at it. So 10 people can buy WordPress sites, and their website will look the same. 100 people, you see those templates that have been bought by 100,000 people. And those 100,000 people are using the same template. So there's no uniqueness. So you cannot build a brand. Imagine Nike using the same templates as Reebok, using the same template as Jordan. So you have to know whether you want. So nobody's begging developers to want us. we know we are needed. So if they like, they can buy WordPress, it's fine. People will need us, companies will need us. Any other question? You can get into our time. What are qualities to be choose? This is not a question for me. Is the collaboration between designers and developers done on Figma majorly? It can be done on anywhere. You can use Zeppelin, as I mentioned earlier. Figma is the tool that you're using for this lesson. So for this training, so you have to use Figma. You have FigJam too. So there's a lot of tools that you can use for collaboration. You have Adobe XD and the rest. So whether if you are using Figma or you're using Adobe XD or Sketch, anyone, you can collaborate there. No, collaboration is not on GitHub. We are not going on GitHub. Please. In the startup I'm working right now, we are about 10 working on the same time on the same Canva. Okay, that's a question. What's the maximum designer in the project? I don't know. Nigeria website for the figure of speech. Okay, so I think our questions are over. I hope we learned something, a thing or two, from this session. Okay, I think there's a question still on sharing Figma links with them. Do we give them access to view or also to edit? So as I'm saying, the question I want to flip it back to you. Do we give them access to view or edit? So the question is, do you want them to view or edit your design? Personally, I never give the developers, I don't even give project managers edit access. I don't even give all designers edit access. So if you like, go and give your developer edit access. They will delete some button that you don't know how it disappeared. So don't give them edit access. Give them only view only. They don't need to edit anything. What are the qualities? I don't know. And I'm not answering this question. Salvation. If you like, ask it 100 times. Okay. I think the questions, if there are no more questions coming in, I know this is not as fun as when I have Chris here. Chris is the funny one. So, but I hope I was able to share some things. Hope you made notes. If you didn't, you can go back and watch it back. And yeah, we're going to work with developers a lot in your career. Hopefully, you use this. We have 203 people watching. Everyone watching right now and everyone that will watch later will make design a career path. And this will help them to work in the future with developers and make it fun. So it should be fun. So thank you very much. I think this is where we're going to be calling it a day. Are we calling it a day? Calling it an evening? So this is where we'll be calling it an evening. And thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you next week.